you in charge.
Woi. St. Patrick's hot tonight. It's a pity you didn't go over in Rice's and help Ralph the other night.
Oh Lord.
You could have carried some lights for him too, because I hear the lights went off in the middle of his speech. If a man cannot find the tokens to put on the lights to finish his speech, pray tell how he gonna run Barbados.
Oh Lord.
But my friends, I have come to St. Patrick's full in the knowledge that it is in this community this party has been sustained in good and in bad times. It is in this community that even from the days of Grantley Adams, persons rose up to be able to defend the cause of labor. And today, it is no different. We are at a juncture in our country's life where the choice is clearer than it has ever been. And we have come to you to ask you to make that choice. The world that we live in is so different. But what is even more, the choices that we have to make to protect you and to continue to build for you are so clear. I heard tonight on this platform the voice of labor strong. I heard Wilfred Abrams. I heard the General Secretary of the Barbados Workers Union. I heard Dr. Sonia Brown. And then I heard your candidate, Kay McConney. And you know, just as I got here, I got a number of messages from people contrasting this platform with that of the Democratic Labour Party. And I think you know it more than any other, because I am offended that a man who knows better, who has been raised to do better, could continue with the kind of diatribe and attacks against women in particular, but members also of this party. And I'm not going to dwell on it, but I believe fundamentally that as a leader of a party, you do not have control over everything that any and everybody says. I know it firsthand. But I equally know that my responsibility is to set tone and to lead, and in the words of that song, to take charge. And if one of my candidates would be so offensive to Bajan women and equally to members of the Barbados Labour Party, then I would have to put him or her in their place. We had an incident that we did not condone in St. Lucie, where a little child got the mic and let go a word that they should not have. We didn't put the child on stage. We had nothing to do with it. But the General Secretary of the Labour Party accepted responsibility, apologized, and spoke out against it. When they came to me, I did the same. And I say to you tonight, when a man shows you who he is, believe him. And you have seen it from David Eswick over and over and over and over. And one would have thought that the years would have mellowed him. I don't have nothing against Eswick, but I have something against everything in his behavior on this platform and in his behavior as a minister of government that still has us paying the cost for his behavior. I don't believe that Ralph Thorne can be seriously thinking about Barbados first or BIM first when he can condone that behavior, knowing full well that half of this country is women, knowing full well that he too has a daughter, knowing full well that that language runs contrary to everything that we stand for. But what is even more amazing is that a man talks about Barbados first, but if you want to hear the vision for Barbados, you have to go on Trinidad and Tobago television today to listen. And I asked myself, with his yellow tie, who is his paymaster? Or in the words of Errol Barrow, who is he a satellite for? Because if you are interested in outlining a vision, then you should do what you intended to do, which was to go to Gall Hill tomorrow night and produce a manifesto. But now we are hearing that that too will not happen until Saturday. Is it because they have something to hide? Is it because they are not ready? But whatever the reason, that is not how you expect to be able to make a choice. And I come to the choice that you have to make. This Barbados Labour Party has set out clearly programs that we are continuing and programs that we want to start. And you heard Sonia and Kay tonight remind you of a number of things that we have done to be able to ease the burden for you. And I'm not going to repeat all of them because you have the red book and you heard them tonight. But I'm going to stay focused on the future because I am asking you to allow me and this Labour Party to protect your future and to guide you and to guide this country at a time when the world is seeing the most perilous of times, at a time when our Barbados will remain fragile to things not done only inside, but in particular to things outside. Cost of living is the most perfect example. And we, over the years, did things to protect you by asking the merchants in the price compact to cap. I beg you, take off that light in my face, please. I want to see people when I talk with them. We asked the merchants in the price compact to be able to cap their markup to 10 to 15% because we knew what was happening. And we turned around, and that lasted for the 2 years virtually, where the prices were at their worst. The increases were at their worst. We then turned around and we capped basic electricity. Thank you so much. Turn it right down. I want to see my people. When we capped the VAT on electricity for basic usage, and tonight your electricity in this country still benefits from a reduced VAT as a result. And you know why we could do it then? Because we know that the savings would be passed on to you. But when you go and reduce VAT across the board, that was our intention too before we came into government. But we were advised and we recognized and we looked in Europe and we looked all over the world. When prices go up and you reduce VAT, people don't bring them back down. So that we have taken a decision to put the money directly back in your pocket. And I want you to reason with me tonight. And if I have to say it in every community between now and the 11th of February, I will do it because Bajans must understand what we are talking about and how we will help them. For those persons, straight talk, who get in the 1,300, people who earn under $2,080 a month, we have said we understand you. And that $1,300 will now move to $1,700 from December of this year. That money is not going into no merchant hands. All the talk, it is coming into each and every one of you in your pocket. We have also said that those of you who earn between $2,080 and $2,916 a month, that you too must now get a reverse tax credit. But because you earn a little more than the rest, your reverse tax credit will now be $750 coming to you from December of this year as well. And those same people who will now get that reverse tax credit, every month they pay about $100 in tax. You know what happens when they file? They get back every single cent that they paid in tax. $1,250 on average of the year. And my friends, we do it because for 7 years now, 6 years really, we have been giving back those persons that $1,250 on average. Some cases is $900, some cases is $1,000, some cases is $800, but the $1,250 is the maximum that they will pay in tax. So that when people say, well, how this can work and how it has worked for the last 6 years. And over 18,000 Bajans have been getting back that compensatory income credit. I want to break it down and give it a different name so that people will understand what it is. Because really and truly all that is a government meet and turn. It's a meet and turn. You paying the money to government in tax when the month comes, and at the end of the year, so long as we can afford it, we give it all back to you. And every single year we have given it back to you. Well, we want now to extend that meet and turn to those of you in this audience and in this country and listening to my voice, working in Barbados, from $2,916 a month to $4,166 a month. Police constables, nurses, admin people. Think about it, people working in the private sector. If you earning $4,000 a month, you would have had to pay $2,875 in taxes when the year come in PAYE. On average, $270 a month. We are now saying to you, we're not going to reduce VAT for the merchants to keep the savings. We're going to give you back the savings. And the savings will come in at a time after you file. You will get back $2,875 that you paid $270 month by month by month by month for 12 months. Now, if that is not a government meet and turn, I don't know what it is. So that it means that effectively all persons earning $50,000 and under in Barbados will pay no income tax. Tell me which other government in the Caribbean doing that for you? And we do it knowing that you now need to be properly protected and buffered. And because when we came in, the Dems left us with a BREC government. We couldn't do it before. And we did it little by little by little between 2019 and now. But let me go further. Pensioners. Those pensioners here, all contributory and non-contributory. Those persons who receive the special needs grant, we introduced that for all persons who are disabled in this country, adult or children, because we know the hell that families have to go through just to make ends meet once they have to take care of a disabled person. And all recipients of welfare, all of you will get $1,200 a year. And you can choose to take it $100 a month, or you could take it quarterly, or you could take $600 every 2 months, every 6 months, or you can take the full $1,200 at the end of the year if you have a big bill that you need to pay. This is called a cost of living cash credit. And I explained last night in Holders Hill that we can't adjust the pensions just so, particularly the contributory and the non-contributory, without adjusting what you have to pay to the NIS as contributions. And therefore, because we didn't want to distort a system that we've just fixed, central government will provide the money, and it will cost us $78 million a year to provide that $1,200 to every Bajan once a year in this country. All pensioners, all disabled persons getting the special needs grant, and all welfare recipients. But we go further. All welfare recipients, as of the 1st of March, will have all of the benefits that they receive increased by 30%. So that, my friends, if you were getting $100 in a benefit, you will now get $130. If you were getting $300, you will now get $390. And all of these matters have been properly costed, properly ready for execution, unlike Mr. Thorne, who can't even tell you what the reduction in VAT to 15% would mean, or how much abolishing taxes for pensions for everybody would cost, or all of the other things that he is just throwing out of his mouth because he knows he will not win an election come Wednesday, February 11th. And I go further. This notion that you can just attack and run is easy if you're in opposition and you don't expect to win. And that is exactly the line of approach that Ralph Thorne and the Democratic Labour Party are taking now. I say it is regrettable because I knew the Democratic Labour Party to be a serious political institution in this country. You saw Sir Richard Cheltenham come on this platform, and he himself has been a student of history, and he would tell you the extent to which that party has now degenerated. But I want you to know that we have a responsibility to protect this country while they rebuild. They cannot practice on you and Bajans, because when they practice on you and Bajans, they're likely to do what? Fall off. And you become the victims of it all. But I go further. We have constructed a manifesto that is intended to help you and this country. Sonia spoke about the geriatric hospital. We haven't limited it to that. Right here in St. Philip at Sterling will be the first senior citizens village and village for disabled adults that we are building in this country. And we have said we will do it parish by parish by parish by parish. Even as we are building the one at Sterling, we have the plans for the one at Edgehill in St. Thomas and the one for Odell's Glen in St. George. And this is a government that is serious about executing these policies, not just talking about them. You heard Sonia tell you about people who come to her as a doctor all the time, and they're trying to find somewhere to be able to have their older people go. I have also discussed with the line ministers the possibility of using old primary schools that we are not using anymore as daycare centers for both the very, very young who are not ready to go to school and the very old, where the kids, the children are working and have nobody to stay at home with their elderly parent. In the same way that during COVID we introduced the community elder care program, and across Barbados at a cost of over almost $10 million a year. We make sure that we hire people beyond the home helpers to go in people's houses and to help take care of people who help build this country and make sure that we could be where we are today, and who deserve to be able to live out their years, their silver years, with dignity and with elegance. My friends, when you add all of that to the minimum wage that has just gone up last month to $10.71, people living in St. Patrick's and across St. Philip, when we came to office, working as a shop assistant, working as a gas station worker, we're getting $6.25 an hour. They're now getting $10.71 an hour for the same job. So when something is working, my friends, do you break it up or do you keep it close to you? I ask you tonight to look at the difference between what is your choice. A government led by me or a government that Ralph Thorne wants to lead. Ralph Thorne left the people of St. Michael North. He didn't tell them he was leaving. He left the people before that in St. Michael Northeast. He didn't tell them he was leaving. He left the people in Christchurch South, as you know, and he didn't tell them he was leaving. I genuinely believe that if the people of St. John get rid of Ralph Thorne next Wednesday, the Democratic Labour Party will not even know when Ralph leaves them too. This is not a plaything or a man who is consumed with acting. And I ask you tonight to recognize that our country's future stability is at the center. Some people are complaining about the roads. The roads will be fixed. We fixed hundreds of kilometers. We have more to fix. And Ryan Thorne, who has just walked in here, Ryan will tell you that in addition to the highways and the large roads that are being fixed, in October last year, we made an additional $15 million available to the Ministry of Public Works to be able to fix tenantry roads and residential roads. And these things we can now do because we have stabilized this economy. Dr. Greenidge, the governor of the central bank, told you that there are now 18 straight quarters of growth. Under the Democratic Labour Party, they had 23 downgrades. And this country is growing, and your government is managing it responsibly and making sure that you get a piece of the action. Last year, when the corporation taxes came in at a higher level, we said we can't change the tax structure yet because we want to watch and see how it is doing. And we kept it for another year. And thank God, what we saw then is what we are seeing now, which has allowed us to make these announcements to you with respect to the reverse tax credit or the government meeting turn or indeed the amount for pensioners. I didn't mention that the people earning $75,000 and less will also not pay taxes. Earning as a pension also will not pay taxes on the first $75,000 in this country. So that the government is responsibly adjusting to make your life easier wherever we can. And last year, when we couldn't do the tax structure, we did the solidarity allowance because we told you, share the burden, share the bounty, and every child over the age of 18 got the benefit. Every person over the age of 18 got the benefit of the $300 that we gave. There were some households that got 4 persons living in there, and each of the 4 persons ended up with the same 300. 4 times 3 is what? 1,200. So I have come to St. Patrick's tonight to ask you to vote for Kay McConney. I started by telling you how important this district has been to this party. And Johnny Cheltenham, you have, through the National Honors Committee, and I want to remind you that whereas before people just gave names to things in this country, buildings and places, we put a system in place for the public to be able to nominate persons, and for the National Honors Committee that gives the honors of independence to decide who should be the beneficiary of those honors or renaming. And tonight you heard that that committee, some 6 or 8 weeks ago, agreed to rename the roundabout there the Richard Cheltenham roundabout. And Johnny, it is well deserved. You have been a pillar of this community. You had the honor of representing a part of it when it was part of Christchurch East. And irrespective of the fact that you no longer lived here, you did what all good Bajans should do: maintain a relationship with the community of their birth. And I want to salute you. The people of St. Patrick's Church and the people of St. Patrick's know that you have never, never, never left them out in this community. And as for Kay McConney, I say that Kay has excelled at so many things in her life. You heard Wilfred talk about her training as an athlete and representing this country as a young lady. She represented us in Toronto and in Geneva. And I had cause to ask her to come back home and to help us do the heavy lifting because of her training and expertise. You heard Sonia speak about her role in the National Digital ID project, the Trident ID. Today, she is helping me manage the investments that come into this country. And that is why, even as we speak, there are things that we do as a matter of course. You know, the Democratic Labour Party used to make sure that they fleece people in projects. In our case, we say no. We want you to adhere to planning gains and planning obligations. And we find projects for people to adopt. In St. Peter, the people building the Pendry Hotel are building a market for the residents of Six Men's. In Bridgetown, the people with the Afro-Exim Bank and the Hyatt are both putting, in the case of the Hyatt, $2 million in the Urban Transformation Fund. In the case of the Afro-Exim Bank, $7 million in the Urban Transformation Fund. We are using these funds and others like it to help build out community facilities and to help us lift people out of poverty, particularly with the pit eradication program and the construction of sanitary facilities. This government will not rest until we remove every single pit toilet in Barbados, because we have said nobody in the third decade of the 21st century deserves to be using a pit toilet in this country. As it relates to other facilities in this community, Kay spoke to you about what is happening at Six Roads. And when we go to Six Roads in a few days' time, you will see the new Civic Center at District C, for District C I should say, that will have the police station, will have the courts, will have the ambulance bay, will have all of the things other than the social empowerment agency, which we opened on the other side, down below it. And even that agency, we have already settled with the Ministry of Housing that the plot of vacant land behind it will be the location for the extension of that social empowerment agency, SEA, so that when people come to see the social workers and their children are with them, there can be a little playground that the children can go and play in while people aren't there. And you don't have to feel that you're in an institution that's treating you like somebody who you don't want to see. You have seen the other investments that have been fueled by this government's work in Six Roads. And we will continue to see it built out We will address the traffic in 6 roads. We have been speaking to residents, and there may well be a need for us to cut a few more roads in order to give people other options to diffuse some of the traffic. In the same way that those of you who come to town, whether you come down by Norman Niles roundabout or whether you come down by Busser, you know the traffic in the mornings. But at last, this government is committing to build the flyovers, not next year, but should you re-elect us, the flyovers will start this year in terms of the planning and the construction. Because the traffic is too much, but let me be straight. You couldn't go and do that immediately when you were trying to stabilize the economy. Now that we have that stable, we're in a position to pick back up that contract which the Democratic Labour Party terminated foolishly in 2008. Could you imagine if that contract that Owen Arthur presided over had been completed by 2010? How easy the traffic would be flowing, because when you come down from St. Philip in the morning, you have to give way to the traffic that is already on the highway. But if the traffic that is already coming across the ABC highway has a flyover to go over the roundabout, then it means that you can keep flowing smoothly right through the roundabout and into Bridgetown as you go forward. That is what we are doing as your stewards and with your funds. And to the people of St. Patrick's and Lowthers, I commit to you tonight that the community and resource center that you've been asking for will be yours as well within the next 2 years. And I say the next 2 years because I don't promise things that can't happen immediately. The ministry already has a number of projects in play, but we in the Ministry of Sports are looking to see how best we can find a design and construction of sporting pavilions and community centers that don't cost $1 million or $750,000, but can be fit for purpose and resilient nonetheless. And we give you that commitment because we recognize that this community is an established, settled community and needs those opportunities if it is to make sure that the children and the elderly persons in here are appropriately taken care of without having to go to Bridgetown or without having to go to 6 roads. So my friends, the choice is yours. The choice is yours. You can choose to truly make next week, starting from Sunday, a red week. Because if you keep the red up on the 11th of February, on Wednesday, I can assure you that you will have the best Valentine's Day ever on Saturday the 14th of February. I tell you, a lot of men will be happy and a lot of women because they can come and love up and celebrate with us rather than having to go and look for money for a restaurant to carry out and to have to choose. But I say to you in truth, make next week your date with destiny. This country deserves to keep climbing and to keep soaring. I haven't spoken to you tonight about the Bajan birthright. But all the children born after the 30th of November 2021, and there are no politics in it, all of the children born after the 30th of November 2021, the children of the Republic of Barbados, must be given a start in life, and we shall do it with the Bajan birthright dividend. $5,000 worth of shares in a fund that when it gets to 18, when they get to 18 or to 25, they have it to rely on to give them a start in life. Can you imagine if every Bajan had had that from since before? Can you imagine? So my friends, I leave you to go to Bush Hall. And I leave you with a heart that is full of love for you, the people of St. Patrick's. And I leave you with a simple request. We have never forsaken you in this community, and we will never do so. And I ask you to stand up and give Kay McConney the vote on Wednesday, the February the 11th. And for those who have come down from the north of St. Philip, or for those in Dar who have come across from the south with you, I ask you to please give Dr. Sonia Brown your vote in St. Philip North, and I ask you to please give in Darware your vote in St. Philip South. And I look forward to coming back into St. Philip over the next few nights and to making whole the relationship between this government and the people of St. Philip, because in all that we have done, you have seen the progress and you will continue to see the progress and the benefits, not just in your community, but in your pockets. With that, let us make this deal real. And on 12th of February, let there be a clear understanding that Barbados has chosen and Barbados is keeping on track with Barbados Labour Party. Good night and God bless you.